Out of all the films I've presented for the BCAT Cinema Series, I'd say only a handful have been personal favorites. The rest would probably fall under my top 30, or I felt they were culturally significant and important to share with you. But this film, It's a Wonderful Life, is without a doubt one of my favorite films. But it's also a culturally significant film, and an important film I think everyone should see. Directed by Frank Capra, written by him, Francis Goodrich, and Albert Hackett, and starring Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed, and Lionel Barrymore, the film was based on a short story written by Philip Van Dorenstern called The Greatest Gift. He published it on Christmas cards and mailed about 200 copies to family and friends. Not soon after did RKO Pictures purchase this story for $10,000. RKO originally envisioned this as a Christmas film for Cary Grant, but the writers struggled to adapt the story, and Cary had to pass and star in The Bishop's Wife. 3 different scripts were written, but none seemed to work, and The Greatest Gift was shelved until director Frank Capra came along. He saw the real potential in the story, and RKO broke even by selling it to him for the same amount of $10,000. For his version of the story, Capra included elements of all 3 shelved scripts while adding some of his own, such as the antagonist Mr. Potter, and the setting of Bedford Falls. Critics had a clever little nickname for Capra's style of films. They called them Capricorn. His stories were always charged with unique optimism and focused on the importance of the individual. These elements are ripe within It's a Wonderful Life, which is said to have been one of Capra's favorite films. Also, Capra was the one who changed the title from The Greatest Gift to It's a Wonderful Life. Capra only had one man in mind to play George Bailey, and that was Jimmy Stewart. Like Capra, Stewart was known for his light-hearted work. His characters were very honest and very friendly, but Capra saw that Stewart had the stuff to pull off the darker side of George Bailey's character. This was his first role in a few years because he went into the Army. Cast members have said they were almost taken aback watching him get back into his craft so easily. For the role of George's wife, Mary, other actresses that were considered were Jean Arthur and Ginger Rogers, but Reed won the role in the end. Funny story, for the scene where George and Mary are throwing rocks at the old house, Capra hired someone to throw for Donna Reed, but much to his surprise, she had quite the pitcher's arm and was able to easily nail quite a few windows. She did, in fact, play baseball in high school. This is funny. So Jimmy Stewart was a little nervous to kiss Donna Reed on camera, citing he had been a little rusty, and this was the first time he'd done an on-screen kiss in a while. So Stewart kept delaying the filming of that scene, and in turn, Capra restaged the scene so Reed and Stewart are on screen together for an extended period of time before the kiss, and Stewart wouldn't be able to back out. And as you'll see, that's how Stewart got his groove back. Many actors were considered for the role of Mr. Potters. Probably the most recognizable one to this crowd is the master of horror, Vincent Price. The role of Mr. Gowers was an unconventional choice. H.B. Warner was always typecasted since his role of Jesus Christ in Cecil B. DeMille's The King of Kings, and it is said that the role of Gowers broke that typecasting. Finally, Uncle Billy's pet bird is Jimmy the Raven, who appeared in every Frank Capra film. It's all about who you know. A few more production notes I wanted to share. In 1946, the Motion Picture Association was very strict about what could be in a film, and they insisted Capra remove a lot of things from the script, such as the use of words and phrases like "cover your ears, kids," "nuts to you," "impotent," "lousy," and "jerk." Maybe now you can see why people always seem to talk funny in older movies. But one thing Capra did get past the top brass was, as you'll see in the film, the villain doesn't get his comeuppance and isn't defeated. Capra received a lot of fan mail displeased about this, but in a way it doesn't matter because, as you'll see, George defeating Mr. Potter is not what is important for his character arc. The entire town of Bedford Falls was a constructed set of 4 acres with trees and shrubbery all brought in and over 74 buildings in town. Believe it or not, a good part of the film was shot during a heat wave. Snow in films was usually white cornflakes, but Capra thought them too loud for when recording dialogue, so instead they had a combo of foamite, soap, and water pumped them through a wind machine for falling snow. Finally, the scene where a drunken Uncle Billy leaves the family party. After he's out of shot, you hear a loud crash, assuming he's crashed into something off screen in his drunken stupor, But what actually happened was a production assistant crashed into a cart of props and toppled it over. This production assistant thought he'd be instantly fired, but Capra was like, no, that was perfect. Movie making magic at its finest. It's a Wonderful Life premiered on December 20th, 1946, but surprisingly was not the huge hit everyone expected it to be. It was nominated for 5 Oscars and won a Special Achievement Award Oscar for the new snow method they created, and Capra received a Golden Globe for Best Director. The American Film Institute originally had it listed as number 11 on its greatest 100 films of all time in 1997, and it was bumped down to number 20 when they did the poll again in 2007. Interestingly enough, because the film was considered a flop initially, the film's copyright was not renewed when it expired in 1974. And since it was now in the public domain, any theater or television station that wanted to show it could go for it just like that. After a big legal battle in the 1990s, Republic Pictures got the rights back, and now NBC broadcasts the film during the holidays. And I can't even begin to list how many times this film has been referenced and spoofed in pop culture. The whole showing the protagonist what it'd be like if he had never been born all started right here. So, why has this film become so important at Christmas time? Why has it become so important to the history of film? Why, after so many years, does this film matter? Well, I can only offer you my opinion, and I think it all starts right in the title. It's a Wonderful Life. I think the film has one of the most powerful messages out there. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who have been in the position of George Bailey, where they seem truly stuck and wishing they could just be erased from existence. But this is fiction, and George is given the most damning evidence of what a mistake that would be. He learns that his life and how he chooses to value or throw away that life does not just affect him, it affects everyone around him. And he realizes what a truly significant impact his life does in fact have on his family, his friends, and his neighbors. Unfortunately, not everyone can have a guardian angel show up and give them a vision of this alternate reality in times of crisis. All we can do is look at George's story and see how it can be compared to ours. So I think this is a very important film that can really resonate with anyone, from the young going through growing pains to struggling adults. And that's why this holiday, I wanted to share it with you.